so the schedule today is 2 sessions before lunch, and then 1 session after lunch. And the first session is 10:30 to 10 to 12. We'll have a 20-minute break, and then the second session goes through till 1:30. So we're going to deal with the second part of chapter 8, and actually I thought yesterday doing more, just exploring the issues, is quite a nice way to study anyway, and then focus on the text once you've got the issues a bit more under your belt. So we'll do that again today. And so we'll start with a meditation leading to the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer, which is it on page 20, it seems to. Yeah, on page 20 there's the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer, which we'll chant in Tibetan at the end of having done quite an extensive meditation actually on bodhicitta. And there's 2 main methods of generating bodhicitta, as most of you will already know. And one of them is called exchanging self with others. And exchanging self with others finds its main source in the section of the text that we're going to study today. And it's because of that this text is a root text of Tibetan Buddhism. And it's so popular throughout all Tibetan Buddhist traditions. For instance, His Holiness Dalai Lama has said many times this is his favourite text. And this section that we're going to study today is one of the sort of my favourite sections, because it's the source of all the Lojong or mind transformation teachings which flourished in Tibet during the 11th, 12th, 13th centuries. And then from then on until today. And mind transformation is really about all the difficult situations that we experience in life, transforming them into bodhicitta, and transforming them into the path through enabling whatever difficulties we have. It enables us to generate great compassion, basically. So, wonderful teachings, and very, very appropriate for our time. Extremely appropriate for our time. So I'm going to lead a meditation on exchanging self with others. Right, so would you like to get into a meditation posture?
Excuse me, Andy.
Yes.
Right, if you click
oh, indeed.
Is that right? Actually, just click on the...
This one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Sure.
Right, thank you.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, so we're going to do a meditation on exchanging self with others. So begin by just leaving behind your journey here through the rain, I expect most people. Whatever transport you used to get here. And the early part of the morning between waking up and leaving where you were staying. Oh yeah, of course, this doesn't apply to those who stayed here overnight. But anyway, just think of the day so far, how it brought you to this point of being here now, and rejoice that you made the effort to be here now. And now settle into being here now by straightening your back, putting your shoulders in a straight line with each other, making sure your arms are very comfortable with your elbows away from the body. checking the lower part of your body from your waist down, ensuring that you experience stability, connecting to the earth beneath us. It's like becoming stationary after all the movement of arriving here. Which is also like when you arrive in long retreat, after creating all the causes and making all the arrangements to get there. And you sit down on your meditation seat and you have the feeling, this is the beginning of my retreat. Very powerful moment. And it's partly to do with connecting with the earth beneath you. And meanwhile, connecting with the sky above gives us this experience of intense clarity. And on a day like this, you need to connect with the sky above the clouds, where it's not raining and where the sun is shining. And now bring your mind back to your body, embracing the earth and the sky, but now the consciousness well inside the body, and your focus coming towards your heart center, from which you're going to meditate. And once you feel, I am at my heart center, and looking out in all directions from there, you can connect heart to heart, first of all with the other people in the room. Try to be at your heart center, try not to be in your brain this time. This heart-to-heart connection is a very powerful way of beginning to meditate on bodhicitta. And beyond this room, you're equally connected with others. Those others who are part of your life, wherever they may be, and those others who we don't know personally, such as the inhabitants of this city. At the heart center of each of us, the essence of our mind, and the potential for universal compassion and love. And when we connect heart to heart with anybody, even if we don't know them personally, it creates a basis for empathy, even if we don't know them personally. can reach out beyond the city, and you can reach beyond the human realm. To the beings in other realms, such as the animal realm. And feel the heart-to-heart connection with each and every one. Each one is an individual. Just to give an example, consider an ant's nest, typically holding in the region of 1 million ants. Each is an individual. Each is a sentient being. Each is worthy of our empathy. And there are countless ants' nests on our planet. That was just an example. So extend it, heart to heart. First of all, connecting, and then empathizing. Empathizing is simply acknowledging that happiness and sadness are common experiences of every being. We might not call it happiness and sadness with a being like an ant, but there is still satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Yesterday we began by considering our heart center as the center of maybe not even just this universe, maybe infinite universes. And here we connect with sentient beings wherever they may be. In this solar system, this galaxy, this universe, or any universe, they all have mind. And they all want satisfaction. And deep down, they want inner peace, just like we do. So empathy is acknowledging a level of equality. Just feel that at your heart center as you meditate. And each sentient being, or pretty much every sentient being, has a body. There's a few in the formless realm who certainly don't have a gross body, but anyway, having a body is a common condition. A body which can experience pain or pleasure, and each has a mind which has a drive towards satisfaction and ultimately inner peace. And each has a karmic trajectory conditioned by previous actions, which has brought them to where they are now and will take them uncontrollably to different places and forms, environments in the future. So regardless of how they treat us, it's good if we have equanimity towards all of them. Allow that to arise at your heart center. It means a sort of impartiality, not favoritizing or rejecting, having a balanced view towards everyone. And from this position we can easily understand the disadvantages of being very self-centered, which, if we're honest, we often are self-centered. It's like putting a wall around yourself. It's like closing up the lotus of your heart. And although sometimes we feel, oh, I have to protect myself, if we get stuck in that way of thinking, we become extremely lonely and unhappy. Whereas when our heart is open and we're connecting and empathizing with others, not only does it bring every happiness through constructive emotions and through creating positive karma, but also it opens the door to liberation and enlightenment for oneself. It enables us to see that just like me, all beings want happiness or satisfaction, and do not want suffering or dissatisfaction. We're all alike in that way. And because I am just one, and others are countless, the greater need is with others rather than me. Because everyone has an equal right to happiness and satisfaction, freedom from suffering and dissatisfaction. It's not fair to say that I have more right than anybody else. This state of mind in one's heart center right now, with an open heart, is great happiness. It arises through connecting with and empathizing with others. This is a great example of how all my happiness depends on others. Just to have been born in this fortunate existence depended totally on others. To have been fed, housed, clothed, educated, all from others. To have met the teachings, to have learned about universal love and compassion, and to be able to practice it and bring the greatest happiness, eventually full enlightenment, all due to others. Make sure that you're continuing to meditate from your heart center, not your brain. So all my happiness comes from others, from now right up to complete enlightenment. But when I look at those others, those countless sentient beings, they're all suffering, each in his or her own way. Some physically, some emotionally, but at a deep spiritual level, all of them. Not having found the deepest peace of enlightenment. So seeing as they're all suffering, but all my happiness, which I feel right now, comes from them, on this basis, exchanging self with others makes sense. It simply means to give one's happiness and causes of happiness to others, and to take on their suffering and causes of suffering. It's an exchange. And initially it can sound scary, but the fact is that the more you take on the suffering and causes of suffering of others mentally and meditation and so forth, the more you experience happiness and joy. So it's got this extraordinary transformative potential, this meditation that we're going to do. So on the basis of the empathy which we've generated towards all sentient beings throughout space, acknowledging our own selfish thought, which may not be present right now very strongly, but often is, visualizing that at our heart center as a very dark knot of selfishness. Breathe in through your left nostril the suffering and causes of suffering from other sentient beings in the form of dark smoke, and breathe it down to your heart center, where it absorbs into the black knot of selfishness. Thereby pressurizing that knot, forcing it, pushing it to acknowledge the suffering of others, which is what it's avoiding or trying to avoid. Acknowledging. Keep breathing in the black smoke until the black knot dissolves a little, revealing an extraordinary, brilliant light, like the sun. Enabling one to breathe out through one's right nostril all the joy, positive mind of wisdom, compassion, love, generosity, everything constructive is breathed out through the right nostril and beamed towards all sentient beings. So you practice on the in-breath and the out-breath, breathing in black smoke, and breathing out bright light, and personalize it to a degree by thinking of those you know, times, your dear ones, or including also those who you don't like, but who you know. But also groups of strangers, like all the patients in all the hospitals in Leeds, for example, whatever groups you like, and just take on their suffering and causes of suffering and offer them your happiness and causes of happiness. As you breathe. So in general, the objects are all sentient beings, but we bring to mind particular examples in order to make sure it's not just a faceless mass. And of course, it's not just humans, it's beings in all the realms of psychic existence. To lead the refuge and bodhicitta prayer, so we'll just do that now. So it's very straightforward. Refuge, is, on behalf of all sentient beings, we take refuge. Because we recognize that the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha are the way for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. And with the bodhicitta, we recognize that by ourselves becoming fully enlightened, we will be best placed to benefit all beings. Sangye chodan soki chodnam la jangju badu dagni kyab suchi dagi jun soki peso namki dola penchir sangye drupara shogu Sangye chodan soki chodnam la jangju badu dagni kyab suchi dagi jun soki peso namki Dula penchir sangye drupara shogu Sangye chodan soki chodnam la jangju padu dani kyab suchi dagi jun soki peso namki Dula penchir sangye drupara shogu. So, with the bodhicitta motivation, we develop an attitude that we would like to become fully enlightened so that we can benefit all beings. But at the moment we don't have that ability. But this practice does mean that those beings who we do encounter, whatever suffering they have, we will spontaneously feel compassion and wish them happiness. It just comes because we do this practice. So that's the sort of immediate benefit. The long-term benefit, yeah, we will become enlightened to benefit all beings. But it's not like this is all just deferred. This will have immediate benefit. So we're going to do a little pairs exercise just to illustrate that. And before we go into pairs, just think, you're going to think of an example of a suffering experience of yours. It could be a very, very profound and huge thing, or it could be quite a small thing. It's up to you. But whatever it is, you're going to share it with a partner in a minute. So you might just want to think, well, actually, I really don't want to talk about that one. It's up to you. So I want you to choose something that you would feel okay. But the fact is, we all got to know each other pretty well yesterday, and probably before in most cases. So, something that you would like to share and get some feedback on, which is what the exercise is going to be. Just think about what you're going to use from your own experience. You'll have 5 minutes to talk about it, so obviously you can't talk for a very long time. Okay. So I've noticed that there's an odd number of people here today, so I will participate in the exercise. So just everybody choose a partner. And okay, what's going to happen is that I'm going to keep time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the first person is going to have 5 minutes to talk about whatever it is, to share, while the other person listens, sort of nods encouragingly, maybe occasionally might say, do you want to say a bit more about that, but really don't intervene at all. And then at the end of 5 minutes I'm going to ring the bell, and then the second person has got 3 minutes of feedback time to just say anything that you feel, from preferably from your heart, but also maybe a bit from your mental response to what they've said, just to give them a little bit of feedback. Okay? And then after 3 minutes I will then ring the bell again, and then it's time to go the other way. Okay? You got the structure? Okay, so begin.
I'll go first.
So not too sad one. So then it was mine is last year that I went to my uncle's funeral. So with my dad and then it was mainly sort of feelings going on with my uncle's children, because then basically my dad's been left now, and also died, and also my brother went there, and then it was just like really quite sort of sad for my dad, also for his kids as well, because they were around sort of 30s, 40s, I've got like his cousins, but really our immediate family, they've got one, just really sort of sad, just sort of like good movie. Well, exactly. I was getting stressed out, and I was really difficult, and just felt like that we could do more, but there's nothing we can do, is there? Other than just sort of live and support now. Make sure we just keep in contact.
What did you?
I felt a bit sad, really. Yeah, I just felt really sad in the dad, because he's old now as well, getting more old, and yeah, sort of felt a bit rubbish to be there.
And it happens to everybody.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Keep going. So, did everybody talk about it?
No, not really, because I'm masters of suppressing the emotions.
And did you talk about it?
Well, I tried to. I tried to speak to my dad, but he never wants to really speak about it, because he's like that generation. Like he's getting that, so he's got Parkinson's now, but he's getting, I can slowly see he's getting worse. Like, the medication and everything, still this chat now before you,
very definitely.
there's no more chance.
You're the only one.
No, I've got a bit of a lean. She's good now.
I want to say that because I've been through all that.
Because of teaching.
Is he living on his own?
No, I still got my mum's which is good. Yeah. Well, just loved it. Just what happened.
It is. It's looking hard, isn't it? Having to watch it, it's hard watching it, suffering and not being able to do anything. Frustration. Go on, keep going.
I don't really have a lot to say. No, it's a bit.
And a few words.
No, it's just.
I think in general.
It's weird. Yeah, in general, watching people sort of get worse and do.
Well, it brings your own immortality, doesn't it? It's when you think, oh, go on. Yes, it's taken away.
But it's not good, especially because my dad's brother, Tony, his wife had dementia, so she got dementia, then he was looking after her, and he got Parkinson's as well, so it's obviously a family trait thing. And then it's like sort of like, so he got really bad, and then he just slowly degenerated over the time, because just sort of, how supposed to happen nowadays, people don't take it down at a young age.
Family
Pick me out.
Which
Which I always felt was something that I wouldn't seem to do.
you get to a point going, you've got to help him, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's it's trying to work together, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Very much so.
I never really got on with my brother very much. I don't really like it as a kid. Which is good.
3 minutes, people.
Well, the last one through gritted teeth. That was quite, got to get on with him. But I might be closer together.
Yeah, I
That
think
might be good for you.
yeah.
Because you put all of it together.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel it out.
It's feedback or if it's
I make sure my mum sorts this. Ken
okay, do that as well. Okay.
It's like from one physical thing,
It's hard.
just come.
You really compassionate, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's what Scottish is. It's lovely. It's nice.
It's true that you don't think, well, what could have been?
You could, yeah, you might call it and then try not to get in that situation yourself. Learn. I find if you look at the people's experience, then you go, right, hopefully you can do it just the way that I get
The
I'm a
great
big fan of this. One of mine called 3 children. The youngest son,
regardless of anything, it's a strain on
he just didn't have it. Didn't go to the
There's nothing kind
yeah.
Just pretend it's not happening.
yeah, and that's just easy.
It may not have been matter.
But eventually,
That feeling of
surprised.
everything's like the feeling of being left out, emotionally shy, similar to
It's just been there as they do, isn't it?
anyone who's experienced from anything. There's lots of things that you have experienced as a result of this one physical thing, which are similar to what other people go through because of different causes. I was thinking of the emotional state, especially.
I think compared to the injuries,
Something can be, even though the origin might at the time anyway seem and then also
Not a lot really.
fingers and so forth.
It could be a lot worse.
It means like,
sounds great to me.
even though you said that the arms can be better,
Directed you towards.
the fingers are actually going to get worse.
Yeah, so
And it's also leading
It's like,
down
it's
the line,
going to
isn't
be a major, it is a major part of your life. So I thought that in a way of choosing that as an example. But when you first started, I thought, he's chosen a health thing. Maybe it's kind of, I thought maybe it's containable. But
What would your
it's spreading to every aspect of your life.
I don't know. Well, not being home.
And I thought, it's my feedback time, but I know there's probably much more to say. And then there was the other thing was on the positive side, as you said, giving you time to study, to start
yeah,
No,
and so then I was thinking, and it's probably made you more sensitive, actually. I imagine. I sort of guessing that because I'm sort of,
I think that would be brilliant.
it makes you more
I
aware
never knew
of
that.
the list.
Then if it's making it positive about your projection of the situation.
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the positive
yeah,
byproducts
yeah,
of
you do.
suffering.
Yeah.
If you are that
Too
way
protected of
inclined,
them, isn't it?
it
Building.
helps you to empathise with others.
Well, I think that's
I mean,
it.
obviously some people suffer and they just don't totally implode, but
Maybe
I
worse.
know that you're not like that,
Worse
so I
thing,
could
but
see
I really
the way
didn't
you
just
feed
like
your actual Dharma practice.
wasted on morphine, and what's happening and all that.
Yeah,
I think it depends what you believe in, though, don't it? My mum's in hospital.
Well, I'm sure
They didn't
lots
give her
of
the right
people thinking
medication.
through it now,
She's
or just keep telling you.
So it's a balancing act.
One is so much short,
while you were talking, and
And
I
it's all just like
process.
taking something of it, so all the
it's
questions
been
Yeah, totally sure decisions you would have made.
yeah.
yeah,
But you don't think straight either. It's just all over
and
you.
I think
That was that situation.
it's like that,
Yeah, when people
I
are
mean, I'm no different to you.
it can be turned
your dad and
way, and I felt that that's
Make that down.
what's happened to you. So in that idea, strongly ritualised.
Obviously,
We're all something. I mean, it's can't be there's something that's going to come up as a result of something you do at all. You probably can't remember.
go around for a read.
But if you can turn it into...
Just turn it. Do they live local then? How do they live So you've got some night job.
You know, Lama Zopa's got this book called Shantideva.
Because people can prepare the
I think it was amazing.
But that makes it work. They probably do a lot.
This is mine and not
Got to have some in the house. Got to
Well, you don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to ring the bell because I think that's going to be
It's a good indication.
Okay, so that's the feedback time over. Briefly, you might want to, the person who started might want to just give some feedback on the feedback, but then we'll go into, then straight away go into the second person telling their account.
Give me the feedback.
Thank you. Thinking about the state of things.
I could tell about my mum. I'm just thinking that's what I'm just
My
Just a little thing.
Which was a good spot
from
and that you were in a
child,
got away with them.
not just
Yeah.
I've been living with the last 2 years. I moved back in my mum a few.
I could say you, but I won't. I've
So
got
good
really
friends.
sad.
I think we should do
Alice, my daughter.
that. Say quick.
She's walking.
it was almost like a fundamental part of my life. And
Yeah, so his girlfriend
it was
was
connected to
pretty sure she's been
She's a little star.
she kind of was somebody else. And
She had children,
quite difficult.
and everybody loved her.
You know,
So
like
that was the saving grace.
everyone in my
So,
generation, pretty much. My
Oh,
parents
man.
were
We were the
violence,
only
they come out.
yeah, I thought should I tell him or shouldn't I tell him? I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, when she was born.
And so a lot of, I think a lot of
But actually what
my
happened was she'd been found
parents
on a dating site.
didn't have the emotional resource
And I thought, should I tell him or shouldn't I tell him?
And
in a way that quite, well, some parents do
the
nowadays.
quality of life was going up.
I was actually,
And
And it was her
in a
telling
way they need to do
didn't know anything about
because he
this.
got
and
cancer.
they didn't
Because my face is too
so
And she
no one
had
else is going to tell
a
him.
really
well on
peaceful life.
What do
She
you
was
do?
just
You know, you think about Buddhism,
She was
you think about the poverty and core,
She was talking about she was right as a book.
potential for upset.
Her and I had a fantastic relationship.
and various other kinds of
What do you do?
It really was clever.
So at the end of the day,
Towards
so
the
I
end,
kind of
she put
referred back to the,
painkillers on just
you know what, we're two blokes,
so
we're
she
two
at my
mates,
point when she
and
needed it.
absorbed
Look
stuff.
at it, so you know, give me
think about life, you know.
There was a lot of
And
she just started.
to be honest, I don't know.
One patch.
you know, but with the
So that
caveat
would have been
that,
the old. We were involved with
it might be some kind of computer glitch or something.
It's like
It's, you know, maybe it's
She just
just
But
went
in
to
another
sleep.
way,
connected to a computer and it's
She
something
didn't
old.
come around again.
You
So
know,
it was a really, really peaceful
really
life.
sort of
yeah.
And then
distorted.
I don't know, that's really
everything went. It was like it was all going to happen. So we took her down to Martin Health
I
House.
thought about it for 24
I
hours
don't think I'd ever come across that.
until
There was a little room outside, there was a little room. That's where I think I'm going around the family because they want me to posters on the
I mean, I'll give you an example. I have a memory that should be cuddling me in her lap, and probably for her wasn't changed, was that I just ignored it. So I didn't necessarily know it to a certain
work,
and it was amazing.
So I went into
To be able to
Very
have
deep,
that
but, you know,
time.
a lot of
so, yeah,
anxiety.
It's
so,
too gruesome.
No,
It's not
no,
that
no,
too
it's
gruesome
not
at all,
gruesome.
not
It's
at
not.
all.
No, no, it's not.
Or trying to
It
walk
was
like a
really
boy
special.
for her, or whatever, sort of like almost trying to do whatever she wants.
engineering
Sort of thing.
And
managers and
experiences as
engineers.
well.
I think
that's a
My youngest
senior
son,
manager.
Although,
he couldn't
you know,
cope.
So
to some
Couldn't
extent,
cope
yeah,
well. He was
I could please her a
She
little
went
bit.
into the computer
Still,
and
the
suicide,
anxiety.
day anxiety. And it wasn't her saying about
Not in
So that had a knock-on
what industry, not in engineering, it's not.
City
Everybody else
Christian
seems to do that. People in my position are 50 hours a week.
and years, even I actually got into a conversation
So,
a couple of minutes ago before I went
my way of doing it. So,
I mean, I can't say what I enjoyed. Gradually, as I got into teen,
reduced hours,
I started to
she
become
reduced salary.
but it did come eventually. I mean, it took how long? 12.
It's just, just getting finding that balance. You know,
It was strange because another brother
having
was
to work
so they got me in my
between
to be honest, you know, at that age, in a way, you're not ready to. So I think there's still a lot of elements which are very
4
strong.
years between him and the older one. But towards the end, he got very
But
close.
then you've got them all. Spoke about
She
what I'm
had,
thinking.
Also,
have you ever come across
So it's quite a lot to do.
tube infection? She had to have that. She almost probably lost
when she,
it.
especially when I
And the
started
older
to
one couldn't come and help him because they had to have him get out of work till late. So they were
She's got no-
didn't have enough hands.
and then
Financially,
later in
because
my
he
career,
could
she
help
hasn't, I think.
without
She hasn't particularly got to worry about
Well,
what I'm
she's
working.
got
so
really
as well.
Because I've got to know,
She's
you
lovely.
know.
Really lovely.
Yeah, until later
I was
on.
really pleased.
For instance, I still feel working
Yeah.
It's just gone in.
She was
No, I've gone back because
but it has
one, because
given me a
permanent,
lot to work on.
getting a little bit of a feel
I
for
have
permanent.
since I've been
And two, because
where people talked
my mind will go off.
it's given me a reason to
So,
Well, thanks for coming.
makes most I'm genuinely, because of impermanence. Genuinely because of impermanence.
It was hard because the first 6
Something
months
which
episode,
I picked upon
Right.
a couple of years ago, a particular note.
but when it got to a little bit beyond the
We
disability,
spoke about it in great length.
Yeah.
And then just my own experiences this year, a bit of a close call with what's been going really early on in the
it's
year.
hard.
sometimes really had one or two times when I was really heavily
But
depressed.
she smiled through it.
pretty dodgy.
Do you think it helps? Like knowing that it's going to be
To be honest, I wasn't going to go back. I thought,
you could enjoy it more, it's just that now.
I mean, we did. We lived
so
really
use that as a bit of a, actually wanted to work out the goals
We're going to
I want to come back to full
we've spent all
time.
the time coming
Well,
everybody in education, social service,
so what's the
Never
problem?
give up attitude.
So the
That's
positive line of balance,
I
the
also
armour,
knew difference.
word,
And I always say sometimes we hit puberty.
family.
That was no problem. That's how it happened.
So you've got two to choose from.
So someone would be seen in memory.
Okay, feedback again, the other way.
It's really amazing because it's just like you spend so much time giving your life to support somebody else as well.
But you don't think about it.
No,
Oh, she's on the way.
You just get it.
Children obviously have not heard and doesn't very much. Just like engaged on that. Not heard
No accusation,
Those
just
are
to
Really special.
have a word with this chap.
well seen as well.
And she actually, she gave me, I will tell you because I told you this, at the hospital, well, it was the next day, my son and my husband and I had
I don't probably shouldn't choose that, it's not really a problem.
because how long is it difference? I want for me, I want
Maybe that's the problem.
Then started to sleep and woke up and I was as high as I can.
Yeah.
It's like I was the luckiest person. And I've got senses and it wasn't, I shouldn't have been so well. Because it's so much. It was trouble. It was a while. And I asked the GP to come and ask
Instead of making it correct,
because she was didn't know what was going on. But look at the and her.
Well,
Yeah, I knew. I got scared. And I had to get out. And I wouldn't go back to the room the next day. Well, I am. And my ex-team made me. But it was alright. Yeah. It was right.
what is it?
Okay, very briefly feedback on the feedback and then we'll finish the exercise.
I don't know. I mean, I do some therapy because I don't see it.
Back to the have to work out and go
this
back
one.
to some of the other people.
And especially in
Pointed
this
this out to me.
environment, it's
Like,
proof,
your
isn't
mates,
it?
no offence to
What's the name on?
I don't know.
But that was
But
it's not really a problem.
How do you think that?
Maybe it was the 24 hours just happened to be what made it. The one that consumed most of the time, really think about it, it's just finding the balance between
What
time.
we've discovered in Buddhism is sort of like verify your experience.
we'll have to
it helped, very definitely. Not entirely, because I was still searching for proof. Is this the and then I found out more with a bad proof and careful with but yeah, it did. You know, and I've always been right. And I don't have an asthma because it wasn't that much.
Yeah.
Never had a problem. Pretty face together. Yeah, because now I'm I'd say that.
First of all,
Okay, so anybody want to just make any brief general feedback on the exercise itself? Not going into the detail of what you discussed with your partner, but let's look at it in relation to the meditation as well. So what we've done this morning is we've done a meditation and then we've done a pairs exercise. Any reflections in general?
it's just nature of things that there's going to be problems.
Say that again?
It's just nature of things that there's going to be problems.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, samsara is the human condition is basically all the different types of suffering are there, and it's, you can't really avoid them for very long, you know.
And the exercise, anybody?
You do feel the empathy if you've got somebody else telling you something.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you could experience the empathy that you first worked on in the meditation, and now you could feel it directly with another person. Yeah.
I think there was something as well in the meditation, the connecting with the heart centre, connecting as well with our own suffering,
Yes.
and that sort of sense of just of an awareness that, you know, yes, it is there,
Yes.
and because I think to really connect with another, unless we've connected with ourselves, that's just so very, very difficult.
It's absolutely true. You can't really empathise if you're denying that you yourself are in the same boat. because it's a two-way process.
I think something that came out of the exercise was that there is suffering, that we all experience suffering in one form or another.
Exactly, yes. And so your partner's example was probably quite different from yours, and yet, on reflection, can you see that there were quite a few things in common? Which is amazing, but true. And it's very much in line with the teachings. You know, there is suffering. As you said at the beginning. Problems are going to happen. It's the nature of things. It's the nature of samsara, I think we should qualify that with. Because hopefully it's not the nature of nirvana. But nevertheless, it is the nature of the life we have. Yeah. Anybody want to have any other reflections?
I've got a question.
Okay, yeah.
So, what's the difference, in your opinion, of sympathy and empathy?
Oh, I don't know. These are just words, and I'm very aware that the word empathy is used by different people in different ways. I guess that sympathy, if I use the words, so you asked my opinion, if I use the word sympathy, I will be coming from a position that I am okay and I sympathise with you who has a problem.
Okay.
Empathy I see as a two-way process. And I see empathy, for me, the word empathy means sharing the happiness and the suffering in both directions. But I have talked to other people and communicated with other people who use certainly the term empathy in different ways. And I don't know about sympathy. So I'd rather not get into trying to define what the words mean, because I think actually there's probably lots of ways of doing that. But what we're just trying to use language in these contexts to express things which are actually in a way beyond language. You know, it's more about the language of the heart than the language of the mouth that really we're concerned with, particularly in this kind of work that we're going to do today, the text that we're looking at. Okay, any other general observations?
Just one other thing that
Yes.
I felt when we were talking together, there was compassion there.
Yes.
That was evident.
Yes.
The compassion,
Yes.
the suffering and the compassion.
Absolutely.
Two elements.
And they, yeah. Exchanging self for others, which is the main topic today, is it's like when we say the phrase putting yourself in another person's shoes. It's like being able to see how they feel, but a bit more than that, sort of put yourself in their place and help them shoulder the burden. So it's very much active compassion, if you like. It is compassion, but it's not compassion that just stays this side. You see, the word compassion is also quite interesting. There's a level of compassion which is being a witness to another person's suffering. I don't mean a cold witness. I mean a witness who doesn't intervene, but who cares. And sometimes that's all we can do. It's actually a mistake to always think you have to intervene. Sometimes you cause more trouble by intervening, but it's my understanding, the way I see it, that being a kindly witness, a caring witness, does not cause trouble. There might be some people who are so sensitive that they will feel shame or they will go into some kind of spin, even if they think you know how they're feeling. But as often as not, when someone knows that someone else knows what they're going through, they get support from knowing that they feel less alone. Because one of the things when you are suffering is the feeling that you're alone, you're isolated, you're going through this and nobody else understands it. So if somebody actually is there and apparently does seem to understand, at least that you're going through a difficult time, that can help. But then this exchanging self with others is more active in the sense that the person who's practicing it is drawing the suffering and causes of suffering in the form of black smoke and taking it on. And the other person can, if they're sensitive, they can feel that. They can feel that. They can feel lightened in their load. And then, when the practitioner breathes out the bright light, they can get some positive experience from it. So, what I'm saying now is that you can practice exchanging self for others, what we did in the meditation, in real life. As long as you are experienced in the practice. If you do it when you're just starting, you might get clumsy and cause trouble. But if you're experienced, you can be with somebody who goes into some space, some state, negative state, difficult. They're going through a difficulty. You just start breathing. Just start breathing. See what happens. There was a time in the previous before that, location of Jamyang Leeds, when we were looking at this topic. It was at Armley. I don't know if any of you went there. Yeah. We were doing this topic, and there was a workshop, I think, down below. I don't know if any of you were there.
Yeah.
You were there. And this guy, I've forgotten about this. This guy started screaming at somebody else, really, really furious. It was so heavy. It's like we couldn't just carry on with the class. So we just started doing this meditation. We just started doing it. We started breathing in this guy's anger and heavy emotion, and the other guy's or person's whatever, distress, which I presume they were feeling. And slowly this voice just died down and became normal. And I think a few of us in the room felt that we'd had an impact. Of course, it might just have been our projection. It may have happened like that anyway, but it felt like it was going to go on for hours. But I have had that sort of experience on a one-to-one basis sometimes, that you get confronted by somebody who's in a rage. Just start breathing. Taking it on. Whatever's caused them to get so angry, just take it on. And just watch their face. Experiment. But when you feel stable enough in your practice to do it. Okay, well that's the end of the first session, I think. No, we've got a few minutes. Let's just use that few minutes to have a quick look at the beginning of this section. Which is, we'll use the sheets that have been copied for us. We won't go back to this actually, because I'm absolutely convinced now this is a better translation. Go to verse 89, page 65. And this is the bridging verse between the first section and the second section. So what we studied yesterday was an introduction to the topic of developing calm abiding, why we should do it, the fact that we should go into solitude of body and mind, and then the fact that we need to overcome attachment. The main focus was one's own body and the bodies of others as objects of attachment, but in a sense also those are examples of objects of attachment, and it also talks about being attached to material gain and also a few other things as well. So it obviously was, in general, you have to withdraw yourself from attachment in order to benefit from going into solitude, in other words, going into retreat. Now, and this is going to lead up to the 9th chapter, which is on wisdom. But what Shantideva does now is he says calm abiding and then bodhicitta, then wisdom. Okay? And the reason why bodhicitta is in there is to give us the motivation for developing wisdom. It's not just for our own liberation, it's so that it will help us to fulfill the aspiration of our bodhicitta, which is to become enlightened for all beings. So that's why there's now this long section on bodhicitta. So verse 89 says, having through such ways as these thought about the excellences of isolation, which is the first 88 verses, I should completely pacify conceptualizations. Completely pacify conceptualizations means calm abiding. And meditate on bodhicitta. So that means that after having pacified conceptualizations, we should meditate on bodhicitta. Now, we can begin to meditate on bodhicitta like we did this morning, before we've even developed calm abiding. But the benefit of doing it after we develop calm abiding is that we'll be able to hold it and really integrate our mind with it to the point where it becomes our norm. And it really can overwhelm our selfishness, so that our selfishness really fades into the background, and it doesn't really trouble us much. We spontaneously, in almost any situation we could be in, a supermarket queue, a conversation with a friend, an encounter with somebody who hates our guts, anything can lead to compassion when your mind is trained in bodhicitta. And if you've got calm abiding, in other words, you are able to concentrate single-pointedly, then the bodhicitta can become embedded in your mind, rather than just something that you adopt occasionally when you happen to meditate on it. It is possible to generate bodhicitta before you develop calm abiding, but not long after that you do need to develop calm abiding. So really, it's quite good if you've already got calm abiding. But it doesn't really matter the order totally. But with these two, going forward to developing the wisdom that comes in the 9th chapter, you not only got the motivation to benefit others, but with the wisdom, you've got the medicine for benefiting others. That's the whole point of developing the wisdom of understanding emptiness. When you are practicing bodhicitta, you're no longer doing it to free yourself from suffering. That's just a byproduct. That comes anyway. That comes, part of the package. But the package is about benefiting others. And with the understanding of emptiness, you can help others with whatever problem they have. Because emptiness takes you to the root of suffering. If you have an antidote to attachment, like we had yesterday, repulsion for the body, sure, it can help you to suppress your attachment, but it won't help you deal with your anger. And there can be an antidote to anger, which is training in feeling compassion for the person or that you're angry with. But that won't help you with desire, because there are different modes of mental affliction. But with emptiness, which uproots the grasping at self, you overcome all the afflictions through one antidote. That is why the 9th chapter on wisdom is so important. Okay. And just one more thing, because I might forget later. If you are planning to study the 9th chapter with me, which I'll be doing across 2 weekends, not just one, because it's very long, and we'll do the 9th and 10th chapter across 2 weekends. I would like you to get and read a book, which is His Holiness Dalai Lama's teaching on the 9th chapter. There's 2 books of his teachings on the 9th chapter, but the one that I'd like you to read is called Practicing Wisdom. Practicing Wisdom. and it's a commentary on the 9th chapter, and it's very accessible. It's not that hard to understand. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. Just mentioning that in case you plan to come in the future whenever we do that. Okay, so that's enough. We'll have a 20-minute break. Right now it's 5 to 12, so we'll come back at 12:15. Thank you very much.